Remoulade is a French word, and that's about where the resemblance ends. The French version is a mayonnaise based sauce, mild, pale, classically European. What Louisiana did with it is something else entirely. New Orleans took the name and built something with more heat, more acid, more character. Creole mustard, where the French use mayonnaise, horseradish, paprika, Worcestershire, vinegar, sharp enough to wake you up. It became the sauce for cold boiled shrimp, and in the hands of the old line New Orleans restaurants, Antoine's, Galatoire's, Tujague's, Arnaud's, it became something worth chasing. My North Star for this dish is Arnaud's. Their version, Shrimp Arnaud, is one of the finest things you can eat in the city. The sauce is a guarded secret, and I'm not going to pretend I cracked it. What I did instead was gather every recipe I could find: Antoine's, Galatoire's, Tujague's, Warren Leruth, who some say is the greatest Louisiana chef of the 20th century. I took the second edition of the Picayune Creole cookbook, my grandmother's version, which I grew up eating and which still informs most everything I do in the kitchen, and I built a spreadsheet. I weighted each recipe by how close it came to the flavor profile I was after. I made it, I changed it, I made it again. About 15 years ago, I landed on something stable enough to call my own. I've made at least one little adjustment every year since, though lately the changes are less about flavor and more about process. This is where it stands today. The full recipe and quantities are in the description. We're going to start making the sauce by chopping up some aromatics. First, we're going to get some yellow onion, toss that in the food processor. The next thing to go into the food processor is a hearty handful of flat leaf parsley. And I'm going to follow that up with some inner ribs of celery. I'm using the celery hearts here, but I'm also curious whether lovage might do something interesting in this role. That experiment is still pending, so stay tuned for more on that. Scallions or green onions round out the aromatics. These green onions here, they came from my garden. I document that garden on GM Grovescape. Built around the idea that GM Grovescape grows it, and then GM Gourmet cooks it. If you want to grow your own ingredients, I wrote a book on exactly that. The link is in the description below. So, once those green onions are chopped, toss those into that food processor. Next comes paprika, sweet Hungarian. The sauce gets its color from this, and a mild, earthy sweetness. Then white tarragon vinegar for your acid. It lifts everything. Then 1 small can of tomato paste. After the tomato paste comes the backbone of the dish. Everything else in this sauce is built around it. Creole mustard. Zatarain's is widely available, including online. If you genuinely can't find it, a sharp whole grain mustard blended with a little Dijon makes a passable substitute, but find the Creole mustard if you can. Then a couple garlic cloves smashed, and horseradish. Fresh is better, prepared works, don't skip it. And then we food process. A couple other things that'll get added in the process of food processing will be some salt, some Worcestershire, and one optional addition worth mentioning is anchovy paste. It doesn't make the sauce taste like fish. What it does is add a layer of umami that's hard to put your finger on, but easy to notice if it's missing. It can be difficult to find in a regular grocery store, worth ordering online if your local stores don't carry it. The sauce is still very good without it. Finally, the oil. Avocado or extra virgin olive oil. This goes in last slowly to emulsify the sauce. Everything except the oil goes into the food processor and runs until well combined. Then, with the food processor running, drizzle the oil in slowly. The same way you build a vinaigrette. You're emulsifying the sauce. Take your time. This makes about 5 cups. Once you've got the oil integrated, take a little taste. I did, and I thought it could use a touch more salt and maybe a kick of heat that was just a little light on, so a couple dashes of Tabasco Family Reserves. Just help round that, give that the extra punch you need. Next, we're going to talk about cooking the shrimp. And to do this, we'll begin by filling your largest skillet with water. Salt it well, and remember that the amount of salt should match the amount of water, not necessarily what you're putting in it. Then, after you've added the salt, slice a lemon into thin discs and add them into the water. Once you've added all your lemon, then you're going to turn the heat on all the way and bring this to a boil. Once you have it at a boil, we're going to add the shrimp. And so for the shrimp, we want small to medium. I use Gulf shrimp, peeled, obviously. I use 10 pounds if I'm feeding a crowd, and this dish is made to feed a crowd. As for what shrimp you use, find a good source. If you're on the Gulf Coast, find someone selling it off the dock. If you're in South Florida, maybe, you try the pink shrimp out of Key West. Fresh and local will always outperform whatever it is that's been sitting in a case. So don't stress about using the exact same shrimp I've used. Use whatever is best where you are. Once that all of your shrimp has been cooked, you're going to put it on ice to cool. And once it's all chilled, not just room temperature, you want it chilled, you're going to put it all in a zip-top bag. Make sure not to get the ice water in there. You just want just the shrimp. Get that all into a zip-top bag, and then we can begin talking about putting the sauce in. So, depending on how much shrimp you have, you may use some, all of, or maybe even a double batch of this sauce. But if you have some left over, don't waste it. You can always save some for later. So we get all the sauce into the bag, and then you're going to squeeze all of the air out and seal this. And you really don't want any air in there. You want maximal contact with the sauce and the shrimp. Once you've got this sealed, sauced, mixed, then we're going to put it into the fridge. It's going to go overnight in the fridge. This step is not optional. The acid in the sauce begins to break the shrimp down slightly, softening them, opening them up. The flavors penetrate in a way that a few hours simply won't accomplish. What you pull out of the refrigerator the next day is a different dish than what you put in. Serve it cold, maybe over a bed of lettuce or mixed greens, but particularly I like to bring it parties in a crystal bowl with a silver serving spoon. If it's a proper event, then maybe you have some small plates and some seafood forks. But if it's something like a parade, paper plates and plastic forks work just fine. The dish doesn't change. The occasion does. The sauce keeps well beyond this application. Cold roast beef sandwiches, anywhere you want something with acid, heat, depth. 15 years in, this is still the recipe I'm the most proud of. Not because I invented something new, but because I paid close enough attention to what already existed to build something worth making again. If you're new here, that's what this channel is about, the cuisine of the Gulf Rim and what they can teach you about cooking with whatever you've got. Subscribe if that sounds like your kind of cooking. Like the green onions, the herbs, those come from the garden. That's the GM Grovescape. And if you want to grow your own, check out the Hidden Harvest Handbook. The link is in the description below. See you at the table. Thanks for watching. Do the internet video thing, hit like, subscribe. Bye, y'all.